Hello and welcome to the Magic Mirror Podcast. I'm your host, as usual, Con the Trinket Mage, and with me is my co-host, 33 Elk.
Hello.
Additionally, we have my very sick co-host, Salubrious Snail.
Hello.
Today's episode is going to be, I feel like, a little different than other ones. We're going to be talking about all of the things announced for Magic in 2026. We're going to be talking about MagicCon Atlanta, which both of you were at, and we're going to discuss some, I'll say, concerns that I have about the direction Magic is taking and some worries I have for the future. But before we get into all of that, I would love to tell you about our sponsor, Card Castle, the easy way to sort your collection digitally. If you want to start sorting your collection by scanning cards quickly and easily, hit the link in the description below. And also, you can use their card bot at a local game store near you to scan cards much faster. There's a link to see if your local game store has one as well. Thanks to Card Castle for sponsoring the podcast. Okay, so let's start with MagicCon Atlanta. How was it? I was not able to go this year.
This was the best convention I've been to. And keep in mind, I've been to 3 MagicCons only, so it's a very small sample size. But Atlanta, generally, before getting into the meat of it, Atlanta's a very nice city. Downtown Atlanta felt super safe. Everyone was really sweet. The Southern hospitality is real.
Yeah, Atlanta is so much nicer than Vegas.
Oh, I hate Vegas so much.
I didn't even actively dislike Vegas in the moment when I was there, but this just felt very different and much more enjoyable.
Yeah, Vegas just feels a lot more sleazy.
Damn, it's crazy.
And then Atlanta feels a lot more like chill. It's like a lot more down to earth. It feels like I'm surrounded by people and not like gambling machines.
The Vegas Strip doesn't even feel like a city. It feels like some sort of fake set designed to extract as much money from me as possible. It's crazy.
It feels like a
I don't
theme
even
park.
gamble. Just everything else about it.
Also, in downtown Georgia, everything's walkable. Like, I don't think I did more than a 20-minute walk to get to something. Like, everything is right around the convention center versus the Vegas venue, which I'll give it this. The Vegas venue itself is a lot nicer than the Atlanta venue, in my opinion. But there's nothing around the Vegas venue. You have to walk three blocks up for one McDonald's, and then otherwise you're just stranded with convention food. Which is typically overpriced and of no better quality than like an airport packaged food thing. So I got in on Thursday and so did you, Alex, right? But you got in like late Thursday.
Yeah, a little bit later.
Besides Georgia, though, the convention itself was like really nice. And LobbyCon was as well, which is typically when people just congregate in the lobby, the closest hotel lobby, and play Magic after hours.
Yeah, I mean, one of the nights I know everybody got kicked out for being too noisy, but the Sunday night was pretty nice. And there was this like awesome outdoor space that had a million tables. And as long as you don't get kicked out of it, it's a great place to play.
Yeah, the last day in the atrium, which is where we were at, of the Omni, it was everyone was being a lot more quiet because they knew if they were like too loud, you know, they're going to get booted again. And I don't think they got kicked out the second time around. So great job, Magic players.
Any particularly funny moments or memorable games that happened?
Me and Alex played with Rachel and Jimmy from Command Zone the last night at LobbyCon in the atrium. And I controlled Alex and Rachel's turns with a copied Cruel Entertainment, which was pretty brutal.
Yeah, it didn't really affect me. It didn't really seem to affect you all that much when Rachel controlled your turn, but you absolutely destroyed Rachel with her discard outlet.
I top decked a discard outlet from a brainstorm, and I was like, Rachel, I'm not even going to say sorry. I put this in my deck. And then I just like put her entire hand in the graveyard. She was playing Octavia Living Thesis. I learned something cool. She has such a cool altar of it too. I have a picture that Yusef can throw up on screen of the altar that she has. I had to take a picture of it because it was so awesome. Yeah, no, that game was crazy. You won with like one card left in your library, Alex?
Yes, I did.
Damn.
The cascading was insane that game.
I definitely decked out in an earlier game that day. So I'm glad I didn't do that twice in one day.
I think my high point was Rite of Replicating your Rampaging Carnosaur.
Yeah. Didn't you also do that to my Mammoth?
Yes, I also Rite of Replicated your Thorn Mammoth.
Yeah, there were so many beefy boys entering the board.
Yeah, it was a very funny game of Magic the Gathering. It was a nice final one. Well, I say final one. I did spend 7 hours in the airport in the next day.
Oh, yeah.
My flight got delayed by 7 hours and
Oh.
which was brutal. I flew out. We boarded at like 1:30, and I got back at like 3. And luckily, though, there were a lot of Magic the Gathering players in my terminal. I think I summoned with a couple posts online about 15 players, and people started playing Dan in this like not used like zone of the airport. And so yeah, we had Airport Con, and I think I jammed just as many games at Airport Con as I did in the actual convention.
That's nice.
Oh, yeah, you had like 7 hours getting the Frontier Airlines experience.
But now the problem is I have to run Frontier again because I have like $50 in vouchers twice, because this happened to me in Vegas as well. So my next Frontier flight's $100 off. I have to fly Frontier again. This is how they get you.
True. This is literally how they get you. That's why they give those vouchers.
Yeah, surely we got to come back to Frontier. It's such a friendly, nice airline.
As you can tell, we're not sponsored by Frontier.
No, that airline's awful. After this $100 voucher, if the flight goes swimmingly, I am never flying on a Frontier plane ever again in my life.
Well, the flight's going to go terribly. They'll give you another voucher.
No, I know. Mauled was great. It was really nice to meet Mauled in person finally. Yeah. Z as well. You know, there's so many. I could keep listing people, but we should probably move on to the topic at hand, right? Or do you have anything else you want to mention, Alex?
I did. Mostly I played a lot of Commander at this con because I have not been playing enough the past like month or so. And it was kind of funny to take data on it and then see how my different decks fared. I lost every game I played with a more aggressive deck, and I won every game I played with my control deck. So I don't know.
That's how it is.
This is an interesting data points.
I'm telling you, every single rando you run into, their deck is exactly the same, and you can completely destroy them with a board wipe and a value engine.
Yeah, I think control decks lose a lot of favorability points when it comes to play groups that are familiar with what you're doing with that deck.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, but when you jump scare a stranger with the control deck, they just they turn into a flopping fish. It's just over.
Well, but Alex isn't jump scaring. He's explaining that.
I usually am like, hey, this is a control deck, or hey, this deck's gonna be scary later, or etc. And so it's like,
I don't think that translates into people's brains until they've been like strangleholded by it. The first time though.
Well, like I think it's definitely unintuitive that if my deck is not actively struggling, I'm probably ahead in the mid game. But you know, people are used to kind of just looking at board, looking at other elements to determine who's ahead. So, you know, board, life total, etc. And that is just not really a formula that works if you're like a hyper late game deck.
Okay, before we talk about the full lineup for next year, let's talk a little bit about Lorwyn specifically. Now, Lorwyn Eclipse is coming out. It's the first set for the next year. So 2 sets from now. And we have some amount of spoilers. There's a couple of cool things that we're going to talk about here. First off, Shocklands, the other half of the shocks that weren't reprinted in Edge are coming out, which is great. Pick them up if you need a copy.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this new elemental incarnation cycle we're getting.
Yes.
Emptiness and Deceit were spoiled at this convention at Atlanta. And basically this elemental cycle has like the ones that have been revealed so far have been 6 mana value. But as far as I can tell, they're all going to be at least 4 mana value because of the way that they're worded. They're going to be 2 colors. And if you spend 2 colors of one type, you get one effect. And if you spend 2 colors of the other type that it is, you get another effect. And then they have Evoke for 2 hybrid of those colors. So let's take Emptiness as an example here. It is a 6 mana 3/5 for Orzhov hybrid. When it enters, if white was spent to cast, return target creature card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. And when it enters, if black was spent to cast it, put 3 -1/-1 counters on up to 1 target creature. So you can get both of those effects by hard casting it for 6 mana, but it also has Evoke for Orzhov hybrid, which means you can put it into play. It'll sacrifice itself on entry. But the way that this is worded, you only get one of those effects if you evoke it, because you can't spend 4 mana on the evoke. Super cool design.
Yeah, unless somebody makes your cards cost more.
True, if there's a Feral's ban in play and all creature spells cost 2 more, then you can Emptiness.
This type of design feels kind of old school to me, like in the sense that you can't turn it into some crazy value engine. It's just a very kind of, it's, you know, just a very flexible card, you know, that is decently efficient, which I like.
Yeah.
Unlike previous Evoke too, you can't flicker these.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you can to sort of cheat the cost, right? If you go like evoke it for 2 and then 1 mana cloud shift like blink it, you do get to keep the creature.
If you want a 5/5, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But it doesn't actually like do the thing again, which I think is such a great like safety valve for these kind of cards. It makes them flexible and interesting without being like, oh, you just play this in any blink deck, because it's actually not that good in a blink deck. It's better in something that bounces it back or recurs it back to your hand in some way.
Yeah, I'm super excited to see what the green-black one will be. Deceit's also a very interesting design. We already read Emptiness, but I'll read Deceit for the audience because this one's an all-star. It's super cool. Once again, 6 mana for Dimir Hybrid for 5/5 Elemental Incarnation. When it enters, if blue was spent, return up to one other non-land permanent to its owner's hand. And if it was entered, if black was spent to cast it, target opponent reveals their hand, you choose a non-land card from it, that player discards that card, and then evoke for Dimir Hybrid. I love reading this card. You can tell that in play design, someone did go 6 mana for Deceit, bounce itself back to its hand, Thoughtseize you, and then just do that forever.
Yeah. I like the design though. It's these like, I think Emptiness doesn't really work together with its 2 abilities.
Yeah, but Deceit does.
Deceit, you could just have it be a removal spell. So
yeah, I think these are so cool. I want to talk about a card that I think is crazy busted. This will be an instant CDH staple in the current meta, and that is Formidable Speaker. 2 and a green for a 2/4 elf druid. When this creature enters, you may discard a card. If you do, search your library for a creature card, reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle. And then it also has, which by the way, it would already just be a good card if it did that, but it is also pay 1, tap, untap another target permanent. Now, I think in CDH, this is crazy because what you do is you search up a creature like Sowing Mycoswan that lets you search up Gaia's Cradle, and then this thing untaps your Gaia's Cradle to make like a more billion amount of mana. Crazy card.
Yeah, the Gaia's Cradle play pattern's like insane. For me, this card has me super excited for Kellen and Farrakha the most. Because I already run Fauna Shaman and Farrakha, but with this card in Fauna Shaman, putting it in, not Safara, sorry, in Kellen, what has me super interested is it's a Bruna Gisela meld deck. And the big issue with that is if Gisela gets trapped in hand.
Oh, right. This is your discard.
I normally have to like hard cast Gisela into play to get the meld set up. But here, Formidable Speaker, and then if I run it alongside Fauna Shaman, I can discard the Gisela. And I run Growing Rites of Itlimoc in that deck. I run a couple of multi-tap dorks like Heron Blade Elite, which taps equal to its power, and it grows with humans. And then this is an elf, so I can get it off of Elvish Harbinger, which is a 3 mana dork, but then it also puts an elf on top of your library that then my Selesnya Kellen can attack and then draw that card for me if it's mana value 3 or less, which all the elves in the deck are. So yeah, super interesting card. I'm very excited for it for my little green weenie deck. Love that deck.
Yeah, card seems great.
Is there a card you want to talk about, Alex?
I guess for now I want to talk about the flip cycle, because these strike me as being the opposite of the incarnations in the sense that they are kind of newfangled Magic design. I get the kind of flip theme, since this is like Lorwyn Eclipse and there's like kind of, a little bit of moon theme there, but I find there's been way too many transform cards lately.
Do you want to pick one as an example?
Sure, let's talk about Ashling Rekindled.
Sure.
So this is a 1 and a red creature, 1/3, reads, whenever this creature enters or transforms into Ashling Rekindled, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. And at the beginning of your first main phase, you may pay a blue. If you do, transform it. And then the backside is a blue creature that says, whenever this creature transforms into Ashling Rhymebound, and at the beginning of your first main phase, add 2 mana of any one color. Spend this only to cast spells with mana value 4 or greater. And then you can pay a red to flip it back again at the beginning of your first main phase. In principle, I definitely think these are cool designs, and I think I like that they're a little bit simpler than some transform cards, like a lot of the ones we saw in Final Fantasy. But I'm definitely just getting sick of transform personally. So I think they've kind of overplayed that mechanic to my taste in the past few sets. Specifically, the Universes Beyond sets, they've all included transform for some reason.
That's true. I didn't really think about that.
Because FF was super heavy on transform. Spider-Man had a fair, some amount of transform.
Yeah.
Avatar also has some transform. Just every set has transform for some reason. They're just trying to fit more magic per magic onto the magic cards.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's so there's 378 cards that transform, but honestly, up until Final Fantasy, we hadn't gotten one since the last time we went to Innistrad, and then it's just like, yeah, all the Universes Beyond stuff is like, transform.
Well, there were also a fair number in 2023. Like there were a bunch in Lost Caverns of Ixalan. I love that. That's super fun. There were also a fair number in Phyrexia Albu one. I could go either way there. But yeah, 2024 was super light on them.
Oh, I forgot Ixalan had those too. Yeah. Man, they do be transforming a lot these days.
I loved Ixalan personally, or Lost Caverns of Ixalan personally, so I had no problem with that. That might be my bias.
Yeah, I would have more pushback here, but I am getting a little bit tired of taking my cards out of my sleeves and turning them around. So
yeah. I'm in agreement. I have kind of mild beef with one card, this Iridu, Carrier of Dawn. Yeah, okay, so it's an elemental god. I don't care about any of its text other than the fact that it doesn't actually do anything to make itself hard to remove, which for the most part, gods in Magic have been either indestructible or they have some mechanic that makes them come back or not be susceptible to normal removal. But is this the first god that we got that just dies to Doomblade?
No. So the ones in
Kaldheim.
Kaldheim.
Yeah.
Didn't have any protection. Although you could cast them on the other side.
Kaldheim, though, is Norse mythology, and Norse gods are a lot more like mortal than other gods in mythology, right? So in my opinion, gods in Kaldheim should be like that, right? Like just people that are cool. I do understand like your small gripe with the god type. I don't know how to feel about God being used liberally here, but I think it's just like a story thing and not like it definitely feels like a god. Like creature spells you cast have convoke, like, oh my lord, that's really good.
It's definitely powerful. It's just like, I don't know, it's just kind of interesting because like that's how Magic is associated with it traditionally. I mean, it's not like I hate the card because of that or anything. It's a neat card. It gives your creatures convoke and you flip it and your creatures get persist. It's cool, you know. I like the art. I just think it's interesting.
Yeah. I have one final card to talk about, and that's Bitterbloom Bearer.
Yes.
Oh, of course, Alex likes the small, dorky black card.
Oh, yeah. Aggro players are eating.
I love this card. You say that. This is just going to get swept up by Fire Magic. It's just like so over in any 60 card format, but I love the card for Commander. I have an IRA mono black tokens deck, and this card's so good for it. I run real Bitter Blossom in that deck too, just because I love Bitter Blossom. But seeing this card gives me hope. Oh, let's read it really quick. Black for a 1/1 flash flying fairy rogue. And at the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life and you create a 1/1 blue and black fairy rogue creature token with flying. So this gives me hope for Phyrexian Arena, you know? Maybe they'll give it flash one day and it'll be finally okay.
Very tragic with this card. The art for the serialized version is so cool and it's going to be so expensive.
Why did they put the gray art on like I know why. I'm not even going to
yes, I understand why. But like, oh man, it looks so sick. It's gorgeous and it's only on the serialized one.
I like the unique border one as well. I really like that art style.
The new Lorwyn frame, I think it's cool too.
Yeah.
He gives Eldraine too much for me.
I feel like there's a lot of parallels between
See, I liked Eldraine visually a lot.
Yeah.
I like Eldraine visually a lot too, but Lorwyn should be like its own thing. I feel like it shouldn't be like,
yeah.
You know,
they're both like European mythology.
They are, yeah.
Fantasy fairy tales. So like they're going to have some common themes and such.
Yeah, but Lorwyn does it better. It really does it better. I'm like so sorry. I just love the Lorwyn like little like on Eldraine, the fairies are little blue shits that I hate. on Lorwyn though, they're like cool insect hybrids, and they're like the design on the Lorwyn monsters I love so much more than Eldraine. Eldraine also feels a lot about the courts, which includes dwarves and humans and Tolkien-esque monsters, whereas Eldraine only has like the Hobbit adjacent Kithkin as like the
Kithkin, yeah,
as a Tolkien-esque creature. I guess there's giants too, but like you know, there's not really a lot of giants in Lord of the Rings when you think about it beyond the Mountain Pass.
Yeah.
Speaking of Lord of the Rings,
oh yeah,
let's talk a little bit about the upcoming stuff. One thing about next year is there are 7 sets. There's Lorwyn, a to-be-announced Universes Beyond set, which most people are theorizing will be Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Then we're back to Strixhaven, and then it's Marvel Superheroes, then The Hobbit, then Reality Fracture, which is supposed to be the end of whatever this current Universes Within storyline is, and then we do Star Trek. So 7 main sets. Now, last year we had jumped from 4 to 6, and now we're going from 6 to 7. Is this too many sets? I do find it kind of hard to like keep track of spoilers in general. Last year with the 6 sets, it was pretty confusing and I just kind of skipped a lot of it. But with 7, I don't know. I feel like it's gonna be even more confusing, you know?
Yeah, 7's way too much. This model's horrific for consumers, but it's really good for Wizards of the Coast. That's the thing. We are diametrically opposed right now. And this is me saying, Wizards. Blah, blah, blah. Hasbro does not have the consumer's best interest in mind. They have Hasbro's best interest in mind. This is something to keep in view. R&D is our friends. This isn't like Gavin Verhey's fault or even Mark Rosewater's fault, as far as I'm aware. This is just like the command came from higher up that we're making money. Let's just make more. The line needs to keep going up. Put another set in the air, right?
Yeah.
And I don't like that Universes Beyond is still outnumbering the in Magic universe sets. I don't like that they went back to work with Marvel after the first snafu with the Spider-Man set and it being different on digital and in paper, right? Like I don't like the price spike for pre-releases. It makes it getting harder, like, to just like play limited every time with my friends. Like, we're just cubing now. We're not even going to pre-releases most of the time because Spider-Man pre-release was $50 because it gets passed down to you, the licensing fee, right? So Magic is more expensive. There's more of it. You can't possibly fathom keeping track of it unless you're in like the upper echelon of pro Magic player that goes to every tournament ever. And every
What
pro
tournament?
Tour. Well, they're restructuring tournament. That was part of the announcements.
Yeah.
There's going to be a better pro tour schedule and spotlight series and stuff. But
Sure.
yeah, no,
I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, exactly. It's flopped so many times. It's,
I just don't think Hasbro gives them the resources to do that.
yeah.
Like it costs money to set up events, and I just think Hasbro doesn't want to spare a nickel, so they're just not going to get anything.
Yeah, it's just tiring.
Alex, any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I don't even have like conscious beef with Universes Beyond or like a conscious avoidance, but I found myself just like completely tuned out of both Final Fantasy and Spider-Man this year, and I think there's a good chance I'll probably do the same with most of the Universes Beyond sets next year. It just doesn't really interest me. I don't feel like going to the pre-release. I don't feel like going to any other sort of events, really. And I think that's okay. Like, I think there are lots of other great ways to play Magic. I think the more of this we get, the more there's going to be, like a cube surge in popularity, the more there's going to be a surge in other forms of limited play. And probably a surge in some non-standard formats as well. Like I'm curious how standard is going to be looking with this, because I think standard is
It's gonna be looking expensive
for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I do want to maybe push back a little bit on the fact that it's not a problem. I do think it is a bit of a problem when people like you, who are heavily in franchise players, are looking at one of the big releases for the year and going, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, in theory, shouldn't you be caring about Magic sets coming out?
Yeah, for sure.
Like, doesn't that say something?
It does.
Yeah, the hype is definitely way lower when you have to share that hype across 7 different releases instead of, 4 or 5 even. And I think Alex did touch on something that I really appreciate and like, and that is like, if your main point was like Star Trek doesn't belong in Magic, then I feel like you're slightly missing the forest for the trees. Like, there are so many other logistical issues that make Universes Beyond awful right now. Like, just a terrible model. And it's mostly to do with like how much it costs.
Yes.
The licensing fees that are getting passed to consumers, right? Like,
I think the price of Magic is way scarier than the Universes Beyond.
Yeah, no, I would be totally fine if Avatar enters Magic if the pre-release isn't $50 and it's priced at a normal price point. It makes sense when Modern Horizons like 3 is like at least some amount where the packs actually have value and it's a little bit, more of a premiere set. Even then, I'm not a big fan of like, oh, we're going to make a set so powerful that we're going to upcharge the packs for it. Even WotC like kind of acknowledges it, like even not like in verbally, but like when you go to cash out your tickets at a convention, those Modern Horizons 3 packs are just, those 300 tickets more. And you're like,
yeah,
you know what you did.
Yeah. To be clear, I don't not think it's a problem. It's just not something I feel like devoting a lot of brain space to thinking about, which is why I appreciated that you did like a really intense dive into Universes Beyond Con, because that's just not something I'm really interested in devoting my time to.
Yeah.
So I'm glad there are other people fighting.
Yeah, I gotta use my business degrees at some point.
Glad there are other people fighting the good fight.
Speaking of which, I will have a video out. It'll be this week, or it's already out by the time this.
It's already out by the time this podcast is out. Yeah.
Yes, it's already out by the time this podcast is out. It does go through Universes Beyond because it is intrinsic to the video, but it's mostly a dissection on the failure of the Spider-Man set. And I feel like we're going to have at least like 2 or 3 other Spider-Mans in the coming years. The Marvel set has me especially wary because Spider-Man is a Marvel property and it was this much money to do the pre-release. It was $50 for my friend.
Yeah.
And that's like way too much money in my opinion for a pre-release. And I'm interested to see if Marvel walked that pre-release price after the outcry, or if we're still going to get another $50. And it's probably going to be another $50, but still watch that video. It's a dissection of Spider-Man and why it failed.
Assuming Elk reminds me, there'll be a link in the description to that video.
We'll both forget. It's not going to be there.
I want to do a mini crash out here about something that Magic has been doing that I am very annoyed by. So I'm gonna weave you a little tale of the last couple weeks. I saw that Nike was doing a Yu-Gi-Oh collab, and I said, "Wow, I sure would purchase one of those shoes." Woke up at like 7 a.m., entered a lottery on the app, only to find out I didn't win the lottery and I don't get to buy the stuff. Hypeland did a One Piece crossover. And I said, wow, I sure would love to buy a t-shirt. I try to order that. My order is processed. They charge my credit card. And just a couple days ago, I get an email saying, it was actually sold out. Just kidding. We've canceled your order. And then last secret layer drop or whatever, I don't know, they come out all the time. I looked and said, oh, wow, there's something I wish to purchase. And then by the time I make it to my cart, it is sold out and I cannot purchase anything. I am like sick of, and every single company does it, this like limited edition FOMO, like you have to get up at like 7 a.m. to like buy anything. I'm so frustrated that nothing in Magic can be like reasonably purchased at MSRP just out on store shelves. I think this is like a huge problem. It's so frustrating. And the old secret layer system was so much better. I'm just so annoyed that everything is like this. Yeah. I tried to buy things this week and I didn't get anything.
Yeah, Magic used to be a game that like accidentally was a collectible, and now it's a collectible that has a game attached to it.
I feel like it's almost, you almost see that model when you think of all the Universes Beyond stuff as like merch. Like, I represent my interest in X franchise via having some of the Magic cards and having a commander deck based around it.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like this is like a problem for a lot of the game as well. So I was recently talking to my girlfriend who's a big Avatar fan, and she was like, oh, maybe I'll buy a box of the Avatar Magic set. Did the pre-orders happen? And I was like, oh, pre-orders were bought by bots and scalpers instantly. We have to pay scalper prices if you want to buy the box. And she's like, oh, okay, never mind. I'm not going to do that. And it's like,
yeah, that's true for collector boosters, but like collector boosters used to be slightly more expensive, and then you'd get like a fun opening experience, right? Like, I don't mind paying like $14 or $15, like, almost like 3 times the amount a pack would be, even sometimes $20 for given sets. Like Lorwyn, I would happily give $20 for a collector booster just to pop it open and like see what I get. Like that's fun, right? It's fun every so often to like, I'm just going to throw some money into the LGS and, gamble a little bit and see what I open. Cause I like, the shiny cards and the alt arts and whatever. Ooh, maybe I get a serialized bitter bloom bearer. Probably not, but it's out there. And now it's just like, it's so scalped to hell. Mostly I feel because of Universes Beyond. Like we used to not have that big of a scalping problem, I feel. And now like with Final Fantasy, with Spider-Man, it's huge. The scalping's insane. In fact, the scalping is so bad, there were vendors that were not handing out starter decks because the starter deck face cards with the Spider-Man characters on them are so expensive because people are collecting them. So people were actively gatekeeping the starter decks for people to start playing Magic with. And that pisses me off beyond belief.
Yeah, if Universes Beyond is supposed to get in these casual fans of other franchises, how is this like? I just don't. It's not right. Like with the way that the products are allocated and distributed and sold and scalped, there's no way a casual enjoyer of Avatar is going to be like, $1,000 for a booster box of random Garbo, please. Like it's just not. I just don't see how this like works.
What breaks my heart too is that it works.
No. I don't know. Okay, go ahead. But
Anecdotally, of course, this is you can't really. There's no empirical evidence. I haven't done an informal poll of the Magic the Gathering community, believe it or not. But everyone I have met that has gotten into the game by Final Fantasy or another Universes Beyond IP. I don't know Spider-Man yet, but at least Final Fantasy for sure and Fallout. They have become enfranchised Magic players. The people I have interacted with. Now, are there people that are just like, I collect the cards and go? Sure. But like those don't really play a factor in the Magic the Gathering community. They're people that probably wouldn't be in the card game anyway. But the people that there's a large number of people who have gotten enfranchised as Magic as its own thing and not Magic how it relates to their hobby, like their prior like fandom. Which I don't know if you've had a different experience, Con. Please enlighten me if you have. But I have seen the Universes Beyond like onboarding model work with great success. There are so many people I meet that are like, I've gotten into this game because of Final Fantasy. This is my first non-Final Fantasy deck. Or like, oh, I really want to brew this card. Or this card looks super sick for my Final Fantasy deck. And they're interacting with Magic in a very positive way that I feel is just like incredible like value that this system has brought. It's one of the few upsides in my mind that we have with the model.
I'll let Alex share his anecdotes and thoughts before I say anything.
Sure. I kind of wonder to what extent does the size of the set help with that effect? Because I could totally see that happening of, a person, sees this big set for a franchise they like and then gets into the game and then gets into other parts of the game. I think that's all lovely. I think that's all beautiful. I am curious. I know my preference would be get Universes Beyond as sets of 4 commander decks or whatever, or as like secret layers or as like mini sets, but then keep all of the full size sets in universe. And I'm curious how much less successful Final Fantasy would have been if it was like a mini set or like a set of commander decks or something rather than what it was, which was like a really full size set that a lot of effort was poured into.
Yeah, see, that's kind of what I was going to say. Things like the Fallout crossover, the Warhammer one, those are precons, which means it's not like, obviously you can collect them, I guess, but it's not really a collectible. So if you are going to get into Magic because of Fallout through those things, it is a pre-constructed deck and you kind of intrinsically know I'm going to use this to play the game. I think Spider-Man and Avatar without precons is slightly different. Oh, no, Avatar has precons. With Spider-Man without precons is very different. And it's also like this jank mini set and, all of those things. My concern is the lasting impact of those players, the people who bought a Final Fantasy precon, how they're going to continue to interact with the game. And like, of course, you going to like a MagicCon or like a local game store are much, much, much more likely to run into the type of player who then bought the precon, got into it, and got really into Magic, right? Like, where would they show up? They'd show up at MagicCon, right? And I feel like, these precons sold a lot. I don't know if that many people did that. And my concern for the future of the game is we're going to have all these people that tuned in for like one thing and then tune out Magic afterwards. And they don't even really go to their local game store that much, and they don't even like, do very much. It sits on the shelves.
I think for me, I'm a bit more optimistic. Like, I feel like if it gets one person into Magic permanently, I'm super happy. Like, it's way more than that, of course, naturally. Like, I like that people have found this through something they already liked. And it has been a large enough volume of people coming into my stream, right? Like, of course, they're more enfranchised, but they wouldn't have been enfranchised at all if it didn't exist, right? So I do agree that maybe a whole set, like I definitely prefer Universes Beyond as a commander like thing. Like, I like the Warhammer precons. I liked, I don't like the whole set model that much. And I do think, because I've seen just as many people go like, I got into Universes Beyond because of the Fallout decks, as I have seen people like, I got into it because of Final Fantasy, right? Of course, all this is anecdotal, but like it's shaped my beliefs partially for sure.
I also think you're probably underselling how cool Magic can be, Con, because like somebody might get into a set, but then if the next set is really cool and that attracts them in a different way, like if people think Edge of Eternities is really cool, if they think Bloomburrow is really cool, etc. and such, like, that Magic is cool. I think it's pretty easy to get into it.
I agree. Magic is really cool, and I wish that we got more cool Magic. I wish that,
Yeah.
like in theory, if it is really cool, shouldn't we be getting players because it is cool?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely, I get a lot of the critiques about Universes Beyond. I don't think I really see, the critique of, it's bringing in these weird different players. Oh, the game's gonna die. But like I get I get a lot about your other critiques. That one just doesn't really hit for me personally.
It's not that they're like freakazoid, like weirdos. My concern is,
Except for Final Fantasy players are weird freakazoids.
sure, all right, you know what? Never mind. I take it back. There's a lot of weird freakazoid Final Fantasy players that we've run into.
It feels an awful lot like an outgroup throwing rocks at another outgroup. Like, we're all not normal here.
my concern is, and I talked about this in my video. I used Fortnite as an example, right? Which I know is very different and so on and so forth. But they had, if you look at player numbers, they have these crazy peaks with these crossovers of like 11 million players, 14 million players. And like those numbers just do not transfer. They just don't retain any of them. And I am maybe concerned that there's some, I could be proven completely wrong, right? I'm just concerned that these players are not people that will be retained. And one last concern is these players are not children, which I actually think that the fact that we're like, and we see this with a lot of the secret layers that are coming up now, it's a lot of like 90s nostalgia type stuff. But I do wonder, like, if we just try to capture like an aging demographic, what happens in 10 years? Will people who then grow up and have money spend money on Magic if there's no pipeline for like kids to get interested in the game?
Yeah, and that's interesting. I'm curious what gets, I definitely see a lot of, teenage Magic players, and I'm curious what in this day and age is getting people into the game.
I think it's us.
It's possible. I got into it at a pretty young age, like 11 or 12, and I was already interested in kind of various kind of geeky things at that point. But I'm curious what is pushing people to the game overall, outside of kind of Universes Beyond, or outside of having a friend be playing it.
Because for me, I got into Magic in like 8th grade because I was into Yu-Gi-Oh! And that game is awful. But I got into Yu-Gi-Oh! Because there was a TV show for kids, and there was manga for kids. And those things were effectively free or near free for me to consume, and I got into the game because of that. And I have a lot of nostalgia for Yu-Gi-Oh! I love Yu-Gi-Oh! Game is awful, but I wanted to play a different card game, and that's the only reason I play Magic today, is because there was a TV show for a different thing.
On the topic of the younger generation of Magic players, but still slightly off topic somehow, I want to hear this in the comments as well. Every time I've played against someone who's like in that 13 to 17 age range, they have had the most like evil deck on planet Earth. Like, I don't know if you've experienced this, guys, but like, I think the last 3 games I've had with teenagers, it was like Keurig, son of Yawgmoth, like Atraxa, Flicker, like hard control, and then like it's just like the most monstrous evil decks come out of these people. I love it. It's so funny to me.
I think they just Google most strongest commander deck and then like build a thing.
No, but the thing is, I used to be like this too.
Yeah, I think every teenager does that.
It's so sweet when it's just like, oh yeah, I'm mono black Keurig. Anyway, here's turn 4 Doomsday, right? It's so funny. I love it so much. They have so much hate in their little bodies. It's great.
I want to bring up one more concern that I have, and I think this is like so much more of a problem than Universes Beyond is. And that is reprints. Now, this is very much tied to Universes Beyond because part of the problem is I'm worried that they can't reprint a lot of these things very easily. But like, we're getting 7 new sets a year, right? This year. And a lot of it is going to be new Universes Beyond stuff. Where are the reprints? Like, what's going to happen to these Final Fantasy singles? Like, are they just going to be like jacked up in price? Like, I know we're getting like a drop in December for Final Fantasy stuff, which will probably help with the prices, but like in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, like I'm really concerned about the cost of the game just skyrocketing.
Yeah, there's this talk of a new reserve list, and I do feel
Shout
like
out to Blood Artist here.
Yeah. Shout out to Blood Artist.
Yeah, Blood Artist was also really nice meeting you in Atlanta as well. New reserve list, right? This is the big outcry. And the thing is, I do feel like this is a Wizards of the Coast blind spot. Like they don't put this in their contract. Like we can reprint these cards forever. That's not part of the deal, I'm pretty confident. So
Yes,
they
it's
will
not.
balloon in price, or we're going to get a confusing Into the Omen Paths Spider-Man kind of thing where they like, oh, here's the in-universe version of these cards in a master set like 5 years down the line, right? Like this is annoying. I fully agree.
And the fact that they haven't told us what the plan is, like if they had a plan, like, hey, in 2 years, we're going to print Omen Paths in paper. So that's where you can get your reprints. Like, I wish that they said that, but I feel like there's no plan. They just, they just don't care. Like it's really frustrating and it's concerning.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to echo things I said earlier in that I don't feel the need to buy everything, and I'm fine if expensive things that I'm not interested exist. I think the broader effect of it is going to not be good long term, but it's not something I particularly spend much time thinking about. You know, I was never in the market for a collector booster box in the first place, so like I don't really know what angle to take on it.
Yeah,
I think Wizards is just so like hyped chasing the line going up that they're sacrificing long-term stability.
Sure.
yeah, I worry for constructed formats. Like Standard is already struggling really heavy, and with the power creep and increasing price, it's just like this stuff does hurt local game stores, or it causes local game stores to just pick up other games. Which affects Magic long term.
Yeah, which I'm glad. I like that there's kind of almost like a new generation of games like Flesh and Blood and Lorcana and a handful of others.
One Piece.
Yeah, that there's stores have options. They don't need to purely rely on whether they can sell Magic the Gathering cards or Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
Oh no, people are playing other games and they're having fun.
No, it's
Yeah,
great.
I hope this competition sort of like kicks Wizards in gear a little bit, because like if stores are like, well, One Piece is selling super well, I'm just gonna stop buying Magic because I don't want to pay these exorbitant fees, or people aren't coming in to play the game, then like that might cause them to like do something.
I think I feel pretty similarly with this to how I do about role-playing games, which is to say I really only play D&D. That might change, but I'm always very happy for the existence of alternatives that kind of put the fire under Wizards of the Coast's ass and kind of force them to consider what if they lost customers. I think that sort of competition is very healthy.
They must have immunity to fire damage because they have fumbled the D&D bag astronomically. It has been awful. It's not been a good year for Wizards of the Coast D&D. I should get you on Call of Cthulhu sometime though. Like 7th edition's a lot of fun.
I've heard good things about Vampire the Masquerade as well.
I don't know about you guys, but I actually am planning on picking up another card game because there's no store around me that plays Modern, Pioneer, Standard, anything. So like if I want to do like a F&M, competitive something with a constructed deck, there are no options for me to play Magic the Gathering. So I think I'm just going to see how cheap a One Piece deck is.
Yeah. Luckily for me, Denver has a huge limited scene. So I definitely get to get my fun competitive Magic out through that and Cube and stuff.
Yeah, but I want to play constructed sometimes.
I get you. Yeah. We should move on to questions for real.
Oh, yeah.
Sounds good.
Moving on to the Beseech the Mirror section. This is where you beseech us for answers. To ask a question, you just have to put mirror in your comment, and we will get to it maybe possibly on the podcast. I thought this was a fun question. This question comes from Top Pig. Mirror, I cast Cursed Mirror and have it enter as a force of savagery to ask, do you have any bucket list cards? Anything that is beyond your reach to acquire, or just something you want to own in paper one day?
So typically I print out the cards that are too expensive for me to own. There was a while for a little bit where I was like, you know what? I should try to get a piece of power. I think it's kind of fun to have like one sitting on my desk or something, right? But no, I don't have a white whale or anything. I feel I just kind of like anything above like the $500 range now. If I'm building like a bracket 4 deck, like I just buy it. Like I just print it out instead of buying it for Cura or whatever, my bracket 4 deck, where I'm like, this is meant to be a powerful deck that isn't like giving too much to fun synergy. It's like trying to be mostly powerful, like 80% powerful for those bracket 4 environments where it's just like, playing with real cards is very low on the list of priorities for that. I mostly don't collect Magic the Gathering cards, I feel. And the ones that I do collect, I just like, I already have them and they're pet cards to me. Like I have an Avacyn that sits on my desk and I have an Iona over there to my right. And my Phyrexian Dreadnought is sitting behind my cork board here. So, you know, Phyrexian Dreadnought's the most expensive real card I own. So yeah, that's about it. I don't really collect too much. I just play.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of similar. I do enjoy having my decks in paper, and I do love having a deck that is in paper and kind of pretty. But there is a certain point, a certain price range where I just, I will proxy if I want the deck, or I'll just buy something cheaper. I feel like a lot of my like favorite, most pet cards are pretty cheap. I don't know what the causality is on that, whether that's because I don't want to buy expensive cards or whether that's just what I like. But yeah, I don't really have a big thing I chase cards wise.
Yeah, those were terrible answers. Mine is the APAC promo Whirling Dervish. This is not an expensive card. It is like $2 or $4, depending on which APAC promo you get. And I have never seen one in person. And I don't want to order one. I think it'd be really cool to find one at like a convention or something. So I've just been like looking for it. I like go to conventions. I'm like, hey, do you have an APAC promo Whirling Dervish? And they go, who? And I'm like, all right, good talking to you, friend. And then I move on. And I will do this until I eventually find one.
Okay, that's really funny, actually. I like that.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
I think this one was kind of fun. This user on Spotify, Why Cats Can't Fly, good username, asks, Mirror Mirror, I cast Mirror Weave on my Essence Sliver to ask, how do you go about powering down a deck? I keep making bracket 3 decks by accident, and I can't play in my old playgroup with my own decks because they're too strong. And there was a reply actually from a different Spotify user, Cohen, who just said that they should watch Snail's video about your bracket 2 Golgari deck.
Yeah, I was about to say that video is really good. I am the wrong person to ask this question. All of my decks progressively get stronger. I typically start with like a $100 to like $300 budget, air quotes budget. Where I'm
we're proxy friendly here.
Yeah, I'm comfortable buying up to $300 worth of Magic cards if I really, really, really like a deck, like insanely in the playtesting. I'm like, I want to play this in paper. Like I will spend $300 on that deck. From there, I will slowly upgrade it with trades and prize winnings from like limited events. And eventually that will turn into a $400 or $500 deck after all those upgrades are done. And no, that just happens to all my decks. They start off like, oh, this feels pretty cute. It might even be bracket 2. And then eventually it turns into a monstrosity every single time. I can't help myself. I will make that as gross as possible for bracket 3 because there's a bit of an arms race in my playgroup all the time, but we've reached a nice healthy par for all the decks to be at. It's just mostly like what my playgroup's at and stuff. Like I need to be ready to answer a stupid Gravecaller combo across the table or being pecked to death by a Vorpal Sword on like turn 6 that has been activated, right? Like I need toys to like destroy those things and interrupt my opponents and whatnot.
Okay. As a known deck downgrader, I feel like I can speak to this. The answer is usually just to weaken the payoffs. So like if you're using a Phyrexian Altar, swap it out for something worse. Swap it out for like a Thermopod. Swap it out for, something that does a similar effect, but worse. Either it's more expensive or it is kind of less flexible or etc. That can also go for like, if you're trying to like power down a life gain deck, cut the Soul Sisters. There are a bunch of things that are kind of similar to a Soul Sister, but worse. Run those instead. I think if you cut the setup, you run into issues because you do want the deck to get going. You do want to have a deck feel smooth. And I think having the necessary ramp and draw for that and, board state creation for that is important. But when it comes to like the things that like, put on the gas, the things that are payoffs for what you have, whether that be cards or creatures or mana or etc. If you weaken those elements, then your deck won't feel as fast, won't feel as brutal, but it'll still feel like you're playing Magic. Like, I know my Glissa deck is an example of a deck where I perform a lot of game actions, but because the payoffs aren't wildly strong, the deck doesn't end up feeling all that, fast or powerful. So I think that can be a good place to shoot for if you're somebody who really likes, playing a lot of Magic, but doesn't want the outcome to be as brutal at the table.
I will argue for something kind of similar, but maybe the inverse. instead of just playing the suboptimal pieces for your whatever deck, play the optimal pieces for a really, really, really jank deck. I'll use my Aurelia the Law Above list as an example. This is like, the idea is I'm building goad without goad. I'm playing the optimal pieces that you would want in a forced combat deck, but my restriction is that there is no goad cards, which means I have to pillow fort first and then force the combat so you don't attack me. And then it has that extra step to it, which then makes the whole deck way slower and way janker to actually put together what it's trying to do, as opposed to if you just built an optimized force combat list with all the goad cards, you know, you'd be a lot easier and your deck would be a lot stronger. So I'm running all the optimal support pieces, but my theme itself is so jank that even with that, it's not super strong. So try like toning down the theme of your deck.
Yeah, actually, I actually really like that answer, because that is something I've also done. Is if something is too powerful, if the interaction between these two or these three cards is too powerful, you know, swap them out for, you know, similar-ish cards, but make it 3 or 4 pieces. You know, force yourself to have extra steps involved in your game plan.
Mm-hmm.
Usually by having like a kind of suboptimal game plan.
Yeah, exactly. Optimized jank. It's my favorite type of commander deck. I want to leave off on one last thing. I saw some comments about like how to pronounce a card or whatever, because I jokingly said it in the last episode. I didn't actually mean for you to respond with that. I can't read, so it doesn't matter.